feels like a really good day to put myself out there on the internet. I thought today we could take a look at our budget and see what it's like to live in the city, working full time with multiple kids in daycare and working for a church, and just see how it all works out month to month. Thought I could bring you in on it so you could know that maybe you're not alone, or maybe just have an interesting look at somebody else's life. So let's get to it. So my husband and I both work full-time, going into the office every day, Thursday through Sunday. We work for a church. We were not trained to work for a church. We have degrees in biology and chemistry, but this is where we both ended up, and we're so happy to be here. We make a combined $120,000 every year before taxes and all of our other deductions, and that equates to a take-home pay of about $8,300 per month after all of our deductions like taxes, insurance, and 401k come out. Our church does cover the insurance for both me and my husband in full, but we do pay for our kids, and we pay a solid $500 for anybody extra on our plan. So however many kids we have, we can cover under the banner of $500, which is really nice. Let's talk about our fixed bills, or the bills that don't change month to month. So the first of our fixed bills is going to be our mortgage. We got really lucky. We got it in the month before COVID hit. And so our mortgage is about $1,700 a month, $1,756 to be exact. We have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,452 square foot little home inside the city, and we love it. She's tiny. She probably could give us a little bit more space. She don't got a lot of storage, but she's perfect for us. For utilities, this includes our gas, electric, and our water. We pay $300 a month. Typically a little bit less, but we just round up to $300 a month. We are currently at the end of paying off our Subaru, and that is costing us $172 a month. I think we have about $8,000 left on that loan. The insurance for that same car is $185 a month. We are only a 1-car family right now. That is gonna have to change very soon, but for now we can only afford 1 car, so we only have 1 car, and we love her. She is great. For our phones, so our phones are completely covered by our employer, but we do pay for insurance on Bryson's phone. It's actually what I'm filming on right now. Let me actually move you up just a little bit. It's actually what I'm filming on right now. We use it for a lot of things. It's really nice. So insurance on that phone is about $13 a month, and we just keep it insured because we do have so many small kids, and you just never know if somebody's gonna break it. All right, we're gonna stop and we're gonna talk about this one for a minute. Daycare. All 3 of our kids go to daycare. They go to the same daycare. My son is about to graduate to pre-K here in Georgia. We have a free lottery pre-K system where you can select where you want your kids to go. We also happen to be in a county that has a lot of charter schools that are free for people in the county, which is a great option instead of public school. So we can charter him into some of those pre-K4 programs. So this will be changing in probably the next 6 months. But for right now, we're paying $2,721 a month in daycare. I know it seems like a lot, and it is. A couple of thoughts here, because a lot of people are going to have a lot of things to say about this. 1, I do not feel called to stay home with my kids. I feel called to the workplace. I pray about this often. I give this up to God almost on a daily basis, and I still feel called to where I am, and I find joy in working outside of the home. Second, it actually only totals to about like half my salary, so we couldn't afford for me not to work in some capacity anyways, and I'd rather just do it in an office when I don't have to juggle also staying home with the kids. We could not justify paying somebody $2,721 a month to watch our kids. That is not a livable salary. If we had more margin and had more money, we might go the nanny route, but the nanny route is hard. It has its own problems, being that like if nanny's sick, then you gotta watch your kids, whereas daycare, they have other people to help watch your kids. So we prefer the daycare route. Also, this is really affordable for our area. Most daycares are about $1,500 a kid for infants, and then, about $1,000 for toddlers. So if we were in another daycare, we might be paying $4,500 a month for our kids to be in daycare. And at that point, it really would not be worth it for us to either not have a nanny or for one of us to not stay home with the kids. So that's that for daycare. For internet, we pay $72 a month. We just have a high internet plan. We love it. I upload a lot of videos to YouTube. My husband works on side projects here, and should we ever need to work from home, having internet at that level is just what we need. For Netflix, we pay $10 a month. For the Peloton app, we pay $13 a month. For Spotify, we're on a family plan. We pay $16 a month. We pay $29 a month for Simply Safe. We don't live in a very safe area. It's safe, but like you live in the city. Like your home's still gonna get broken into. We've had our home broken into at least once, and we think that we've had potential break-ins at least one other time. So we pay for Simply Safe $29 a month. For Orkin, we pay, I think, about $80 a month. We also live in the South. It is warm, it is forested. We live with trees everywhere, and cockroaches and critters really like that, so they get into your house really easily. We also have a 1950s flip. So, you know, she's got some cracks. And so we pay for Orkin, and we love it, and we've had no cockroach or pest problems since paying for them. And then lastly, I pay for Canva. The reason why we pay for Canva is because it really helps me expedite a lot of my YouTube content, and since I am now making a little bit of money on YouTube, we can justify paying for this. The last part of our fixed bills are not necessarily something you're going to understand if you don't have the same belief system that we do. So we are Christians, and we believe that all money belongs to God, and with that, we personally feel called to tithe 10% of our income. Now, not everybody is supposed to tithe 10%. It's about what God has asked you to do, and it's about your heart posture, but for us, we feel like the 10% is a really great margin for us to stick with. And there are a lot of times when I think that I could give up this money and be so much more comfortable in my life. But then I am reminded that at the end of the day, it is all God's. And because it is all God's, I just need to give him back what he's asked me to give him. And if that's only 10% of my income, then I want him to have it. So without a question, we still do this. We are at a place in our lives with so many children and such a tight budget that we can barely save money. We'll talk about that too. But we still tithe the full 10%. So we tithe $830 a month, and we will not change that unless God very, very, very clearly tells us to change it. Savings wise, right now, we're saving probably about $100 a month and extra if we can. But that's just how we've scheduled out our generosity and savings, and that's just what we believe God wants from us. And we're going to use this season of tension and budgeting to do what he asks us to do, and hope that it will teach us lessons that will make valuable assets in the future. Let's talk about our flexible bills, the bills that ebb and flow month to month. So first up, our most expensive flexible bill is our grocery budget. This is strictly food that we eat at home, and doesn't include anything other than food, and it's $650 a month. Another thing that we budget for is doctor's appointments. Now, not everybody goes to the doctor every month, but there are a lot of us, and what happens is those doctor's appointments for some reason seem to all converge together, and then we're just like, where did all of our money go? So we plan about $60 a month for doctor's appointments, and this just helps us to know that when the season comes around where all 3 kids need checkups, we have the money to go ahead and pay their copays and all of that stuff. We also budget for diapers and wipes. My 2 younger kids, my 2-year-old and my 8-month-old, my 2-year-old and my 8-month-old are still in diapers. My 3-year-old is potty trained, so we still do $90 a month for diapers and wipes. Formula. So my littlest girl is, she has a milk protein allergy. We're working through it. We just stopped giving her Daycare. When we were giving her Daycare, which is an extremely expensive formula, our formula budget was $600 a month. But now that she is doing a little bit better, we've been able to move her over to soy, and the hope is that we can then move her over to like Nutramigen, which we have a ton of Nutramigen from the process of trying to figure out this allergy. And so we have $200. We've been able to take some of that $600 down to $200 a month in formula, which is a huge blessing. This is the first month that we've been able to have this margin. Next up is gas for a drive all around the city all the time, to work, to things, to family, whatever. We pay $200 a month for gas in our car. Up next is a very specific line item. So if you've been around for a while, or if you know Bryson and I personally, you know that once a week we go to a coffee shop called Spiller Park. It's our favorite coffee shop. They have the best caramel latte. Oh, it's so good. So we budget $100 a month for that. That is a lot of money. That means that we would be spending $25 a time at Spiller Park, and that is not what happens every time we go. We typically spend about $12 to $15. The reason why there is so much margin in this budget is because if we want to buy people drinks, we love to bring drinks for our friends, surprise somebody with a cappuccino. Hey, here's a little something for your day. Hey, you've been working really hard, here you go. Or hey, can we get everybody coffee? Kind of thing. We want to be able to do that. And also sometimes we want to get food from there too, which often ends up being about $20 a time. So we just have extra margin in there so that we can be generous and also sometimes get food. And lastly, we have eating out as a separate line item, and we have about $100 in there. And that's not a lot of money for a family of 5, and typically the only thing we eat out is Chick-fil-A because it's about all we can afford. And the reason why we have that in there, I make like 96% of our meals, but there inevitably is a hard day at work, or the traffic has been derailed and I'm tired and I don't want to come home, or I haven't prepped enough food or whatever. And it's just really nice to know that in an emergency, we have this money for food. So let's wrap up this video by talking about some of our hopes, goals, and the totals we spend in each of these categories. So for our fixed bills, we spend about $6,300 a month. And for our flexible bills, we have about $1,500 slated. This means there's about $480 or so left over that we're not doing much with. We could put it in savings because we obviously need to build that portion of our budget back up. But we're having a really hard time getting a handle on our budget. We're not frivolous. We don't eat out a lot. Things have just been kind of hard to figure out with our third baby coming into the mix and her formula issues. I had different insurance with her, so medical bills were different and all of that stuff. We ended up moving some money out of our savings to make up for misplanning on our part, like maybe going to Costco and stocking up on meat when I really shouldn't have. And while that worked out for later months, it really didn't work out for that month. And so that was really disheartening to be moving money out of our savings and just kind of feeling overall like a failure. So we just decided to leave that $483 alone in our budget. And we just let it sit there, knowing that we are pretty frugal and that we eat at home and all the things, that we're not being extraneous in any way, because we just want to have grace for ourselves, and it doesn't feel good for us when we move stuff out of savings. It's not that way for everybody, but it is that way for us. So that is where we are sitting right now. A couple of things that are changing. We are going to be up for raises soon. Our company does 4% raises every year, so Bryson should be getting his this month, and then I'll get mine in a couple of months. We are just learning how to live with this new amount of money from Addie not having this like major allergy, which is really cool. And then also I have just recently monetized my YouTube, and I'm not making like a ton of money, but I'm making a little bit of money, and that is so helpful. My husband is also working on a side hustle right now that he's hoping, some like website development stuff that he's hoping to pitch and get paid for. And then lastly, I applied for another side gig. It's like an hourly position. One of my friends told me about it, where you can like teach a chatbot or an AI. And so I'm just waiting to hear back if I got approved for that. I'm not sure if I did. I think I bombed the second half of the test, but a girl can hope, because it's like $20 an hour to just work whenever you want. So I can work from home when I'm, in the evenings or whatever after the kids go down. So ultimately, we truly believe that this season has been very hard and very tight, but that God has us here for a reason, and we trust him. And while there have been many a tear shed about what we don't have, we have been praying deeply for hearts of abundance and to live in the abundance that we have. Because while our house is small and our income is small and our, space is tight, we have so much, and we just want to see that and appreciate that. And so we don't want God to move us out of this season until he teaches us whatever lesson he is trying to teach us in this season. We want to learn it. So if that means that we have to stay here in this place of a tight budget and a small home and all of those things, then this is where we want to be, because we don't want to move outside of what God wants for us. We also have a feeling that whatever we're learning now is preparing us for whatever's to come. So we are just trying to be super open-handed about it and cry all the feelings out when we feel them. But that's just what our budget looks like. If you like content like this, please let me know down below if there's anything else you want me to talk about that's not related to food, because I know most of my content is food. But if you're like, I want to talk about why you work for a church and why you quit being a scientist and what are the benefits of this simple, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to make whatever videos you want to see, because I'm just too lazy to make videos you don't want to watch. Who's got time for that? Thanks for being here. I'm so, so grateful for your views, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.